next to get started like it ought to be.
Hello mate, it's your Uncle Dave here. You know, ever since I got you that Tesla coil for Christmas, I've been thinking, wouldn't it be amazing to make my own one that was a little bit more sparky and a little bit more scary. This is the one that I got you in the sort of cutaway style. What I want to do is build something that's the same size, has the same battery, but is way more powerful. And let's face it, a little bit more dangerous as well. We're going to have a go at building one of these things and make a, should we say, an Uncle Power level version.
First things first, let's have a check on YouTube and see what other people have done so we can steal their, be inspired by them.
Handheld Tesla Coil.
Ooh, that one looks familiar. You should get that one.
Oh my God.
That's the exact one I gave you for Christmas. What have we got? That looks very cool.
Hey, very cool.
It is very cool, but it's got a backpack. It's very, very large. It's not that handheld.
Oh, you are?
What else have we got? Oh. Looks good. Small. Bit of paper. And, whoa! I like the cut of its jib. Let's see who this one's by. Bandan DIY. And he provides a schematic. Yes! A schematic. And he's even got how many turns we need. Well, that seems like a good starting point. I'm going to copy that. Yep, quickly designed it up in CAD.
Bing! As if by magic.
3D printing to the rescue again.
3D printed these bits, so I have to cover this in foil, cover this in wire, attach them together, and I'm going to use these little tiny inserts. You just put the little guy in. Like
These just melt in with a soldering iron.
in it goes.
Very neat.
Pretty neat. Pretty quick
Give it a sand. I know what I'm thinking you're thinking of asking.
How do I wind this very thin 0.1mm copper wire onto this Tesla coil form that I've 3D printed? It's a drill. I'm hoping that I can just wind it on.
I meant to record a time lapse here, but I've accidentally put it on high speed, and so I recorded a very slow activity at 120 frames a second. But that's actually turned out to be quite a convenient way of demonstrating to you just how quickly time seems to pass when engaged with this pursuit.
And we're off. Winding, 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 and on and on and on and on with no end. And also no feedback for your fingers because it's so thin.
Oh my gosh. Well, I've been going for about 2 hours now,
The first 3 centimetres were pretty bad.
and that's how far I've made it. But it's going to be worth it. Is it? Probably. 5.6, over halfway. I'm absolutely exhausted. I had a snap, so I had to solder the tiny little ends of the wires back together. It's always overlapping, it's so thin. When it snapped, I was like, I'm not going back, there is no going back. This is...
But it was all worth it in the end. The coil is connected at each end to the terminals. You can see where I soldered the wire there halfway down and then sealed it off with blobs of epoxy. Should be okay. A little bit of toxic glue, stick some foil on it.
Oh yeah, quite pleased with that.
Goes on the top of the coil. Satisfying. But what frequency is it going to resonate at, I wonder?
So if you remember the test we did in the last video, connected here, whoop, to the frequency generator, and I've got it on the oscilloscope, and you can see this is the minimum point. This is where it is in resonance. Because you'll see, if I turn it up by a little bit, it goes higher. If I turn it down by a little bit, it goes higher. So that's the minimum there, 1.194 megahertz. And look, putting your hand near it. Ooh.
Let's go back to our friend Bandan DIY on YouTube, where he has his schematic that we've been working from. So we've built this part, 1,000 tons of very thin annoying wire. At the base of that, we've got this primary winding, 7 turns, which is fed 300 volts. And that 300 volts has to come from only 12 volts in the battery. So this converter bit here converts 12 volts DC to 300 volts DC. And at the heart of that conversion is this, which is a transformer. So let's have a look at transformers next.
My name is Optimus Prime.
Wrong kind of transformers. I do actually have some of the kind of transformers we're talking about here. Oh, here we go. Transformers come in all shapes and sizes. Here's a little tiny dinky one. Look at that, tiny. Here's a slightly bigger one. And here's an even bigger one. These are all mains transformers. But this here is a transformer you should never, ever, 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 ever use. It's out of an old microwave oven, an industrial microwave oven, and it turns 240 volts AC, which is the mains, into about 2000 volts AC. The AC electricity goes in on this side, and it's transferred through the iron core. It's turned into magnetism, a flux of magnetism, and then that goes into the secondary winding here. And because there's more turns here, you get a higher voltage out. So you have to be very, very careful. I'm going to give you a quick demonstration, and then I'm going to put it away again because I don't like it. I'm going to use this plastic rod, connect that onto the output, connect it onto the mains. This really is very dangerous. I can't emphasize enough how much you shouldn't do this. Here goes. No, that's not good, is it? You get the idea. That's 2000 volts AC. That's a horrible amount of power, and I'm going to switch this off now and put it away because I hate it.
Back to our man Bandan DIY's schematic. What kind of transformer is he using? 5x5 by 150. So 2 sets of 5 turns on the primary side and 150 turns of wire on the other side. I'm going to wind my own transformer now. Do you think this will be enough wire? If you look on Bandan's schematic again, it says to use a 28mm E core. This is the best I could find out of an old power supply.
It's weird the things you end up doing for electronics, isn't it?
It had obviously had the wrong windings on it, so you just have to
Delicious.
boil it up in some water and sort of pull it apart and pull the old wire off, and then you can use it again.
Et voila! Your transformer is served.
So basically it's just loads of wire wound around. You go from one end to the other, back down again, solder it up, and 2 sets of 5 turns on the primary. Goes in there. There's another one. Well, it sort of looks like a transformer. There. That'll have to do for now. It's rubbish though. I'm ashamed. This is the wrong size, but hopefully it'll work okay for this experiment.
As an aside, when I was a boy, I was always getting in trouble for having transformers in my possession at school because I turned them into electric shock machines. I was playing around with a transformer and a 9-volt battery like this one. What I discovered was that if you ran it backwards, sort of thing, then you would get a shock. Ow! Yes. I'd get all of my classmates to hold hands in a ring. The 2 people on the end would hold one of the wires each, and everyone in the ring would get an electric shock at once, and we'd all have a big laugh.
Shocking a line of people can be achieved in a number of ways actually, including with an electric fence. Although in this case, rather than another wire, the last person in the line just needs to be grounded.
We'd all have a jolly good laugh at school, and then they'd get confiscated, and so I'd have to go and find another one.
But there is something the school days reminiscing old man said that is very relevant to what we're doing today.
That's really how transformers work. They're converting electricity to magnetism to electricity. But it can't do it continuously with DC because you only get that one pulse. So you get a jolt, a little electric shock, and that's what I was always getting in trouble for at school.
One pulse with each touch of the battery onto the wires isn't going to be enough for what we're trying to do here. We need almost like constantly touching the battery on and off the wires in a never-ending kind of cycle. If only there was some kind of electricity. It's AC. We need AC electricity. But how do we make it? Tune in next time.
Because it's going up and down, up and down, up and down, it's always charging and dumping that power backwards and forwards, up and down, in and out, and that's how a transformer works. So we need to make AC. Rips, are you making too much noise?
Accident.